when it comes to live action role playing. Always make sure to get immersed in your character. Have fun. Have a blast. Escape reality just for a little bit. But don't escape reality so much that you lose grip on said reality, or otherwise things could turn out like in The Bunker Game, a Shudder exclusive from writer-director Roberto Zazzaria in his feature film debut. And I'm going to apologize for screwing up any of these names because this is a very Italian-heavy production with a lot of Italian names. Otherwise, if it didn't have Italian names, it really wouldn't be an Italian production. It's written by a few different people. A few people wrote the story, wrote the screenplay. Quite a few fingers in the pie here. Manuela Cisamani, and she wrote the story. She did Never Lake. Never Lake actually wasn't all that bad, so I was kind of intrigued there. Francesca Forrestal, David Orsini, and KT Roberts. Okay, so that's a lot of people writing a movie where basically it just takes place in a bunker. And the idea behind the bunker game is you have a few people that are basically role-playing people trying to bring back the Fourth Reich. They're playing a bunch of Nazis, and they're playing a bunch of German people trying to huddle up and fight back against the Allied forces sometime in the late 50s, early 60s. And we see that the staff is very, very immersed in their characters, and various other extras are there enjoying, escaping reality, having a whole bunch of fun. And also, outside of this role-playing, LARP as it were, live-action role-playing, we find out that there's a bit of a romance between the creator of the game, Gregario, played by Lorenzo Richelme, which I wanted to pronounce as Alchemy, and Laura Gaia West. And she actually has a very, very fetching look about her or whatever. She pulls out the blonde, she pulls out the redhead look. And it turns out that they are actually a bit of an item. And it turns out that Laura's pregnant. She's not sure if she wants to keep the kid or not. And all the while, this stuff's going on in this bunker where you get various people immersed in their characters. You get one actress that the character is non-binary. It is possible that the actress themselves is non-binary, so I'm just going to use that wording right there, and just avoid irritating anybody, avoid not using the proper pronouns, pal. But basically, everybody, there's a few central characters, and then there's a bunch of extras, and things are going great. And Greg, instead of Gregario, they just start calling him Greg after a while. I guess Gregario was too hard of a name to say. Maybe it sounded like a weird Italian pasta sauce. Who knows? He's the creator of this game. He has a great idea for this grand finale. He also wants Laura to keep the kid. She's unsure about keeping the kid. And then after a series of accidents, Greg suddenly goes missing. And everybody gets out of the bunker except for the staff, who have to figure out what the hell is going on. So from here, the movie actually just has a lot of people wandering around. This is an actual bunker, and there are a lot of tunnels, and there's some really, really good atmospheric shots and a sense of foreboding dread. Is there any other kind of dread? If the dread is not foreboding and beating down upon me, then I don't goddamn want it. I also don't want dread in my life at all. But, as it turns out, there may be something a little more sinister going on in this bunker. Now, is it supernatural? Is it human? Is it maybe just everybody getting so immersed in their goddamn characters that they're starting to fucking lose it? This is kind of explored. The answer is very, very obvious. Probably, I'd say, from about 20, 30 minutes in. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. There is a character, Harry, played by Mark Ryder, that has a bit of an attachment to Laura. She says that he's her cousin, and based solely on that, it has a weird third act twist. But there's the few central characters. There's this, mystery, this intrigue, and these people are trying to figure out what's going on. It turns out that there's a lot of shit that is whack in this bunker and in the tunnels surrounding it. But don't go in the tunnels, even though people have to go in the goddamn tunnels, because otherwise it wouldn't be a fucking movie if they ignored the warnings to not go in these tunnels that are unstable. And they try to explore, figure this stuff out, and it gets a little bit weirder and weirder and weirder. For a while, for a good long while, I would say for about the first 50 or so minutes, and this movie's only 95 minutes long, it just keeps building suspense. Yes, okay, the bunker game, you have built some nice suspense. It's a very nice suspense. You can stop building now. Stop building. You don't need a loft apartment. Stop building. Let's accomplish something. It's not that building suspense is the worst thing in the world, and sometimes slow burn actually works. And in the case of this, it actually does work to an extent. The director does a good job, and despite the fact there were numerous people doing the story and the writing, The writing is crisp, well done, the cinematography is good, and the performances are fine. Now, the performances aren't great. There are a few moments where I'm like, okay, this feels very much indie horror-like, and we're just going to suddenly start chucking shit at the screen in the last act to see if we can just, wrap everything up nicely. It almost seems like they build up so much stuff that they have to suddenly throw shit at the screen at the end. And sometimes I could turn people up. In the case of this, though, it's well done enough and well performed and well shot that I will absolutely give it props. And since it's on Shudder, I mean, Shudder is a great service. And no, I'm not sponsored, but I'm always going to plug Shudder. Because even the stuff that I didn't care for, like The Scary of 61st, whoo boy, reviewed that and certainly didn't like it. This is one of the gems, I suppose, as it were. I wasn't so sure about how this was going to go when I first read the description and first saw the stuff. I'm like, okay, whatever. It actually turns out to have some wit behind it and is well crafted and well done. This director has a pretty good eye for how to make a slow burn horror movie with some mystery, and while he keeps it simple, there's a couple layers behind it that gives you enough intrigue to feel for some of the characters. Sure, some of the characters' motivations are a little bit weird, but it is what it is. Not everything's going to be perfect, but this movie has a lot more positives than it has negatives. I am going to get into spoilers now, though, but it is a good slow burn horror movie, psychological thriller, however it is. You think it's going to go one direction, it actually just pretty much stays on the track, despite the fact it tries to deviate a little bit. It's, again, not perfect, but it is well done enough. So now I'm going to get into spoilers. Okay, so Laura's pregnant. She keeps having visions of a weird redhead. And since this was an actual German bunker and everything, and everybody's doing their LARP role-playing, as it were, various people eventually end up getting picked off after going in these tunnels and everything. It kind of reminded me of this Fear Street book where this teacher led his students down some tunnels or whatever, and then this one wall got busted, and this weird, red, noxious, possessing gas stuff came out. I don't remember the name of the book. It was one of the later Fear Street books. If anybody has any fucking idea what I'm talking about, please comment. I would love to know what that is. But from there, Laura keeps seeing visions of this redhead, and then eventually she has flashbacks after seeing this redhead in the mirror, gets her head slammed into the mirror, and ends up seeing, holy shit, there's this young redhead woman named Clara that was in love with a guy that was a Nazi soldier, and they were all holed up in this area, and then the Allied forces ended up attacking, and it turns out she was actually pregnant. She wasn't able to carry her kid to full term because she's dead, because she's a ghost. So she wants Laura to keep her kid, and she will stop at nothing to make sure that Laura keeps her kid. And then also this one guy that got too immersed in being a Nazi soldier, Andre, I believe. There's a J at the end, so I don't know if the J is silent. Tudor Isidore, kind of a repetitive last name there, a repetitive first and last name, but he wasn't bad. He got a little bit too immersed in his role and decided to go nuts in the last number of minutes. People just keep getting off. The guy that was in a wheelchair, that was one of the staff members, that was also playing the Nazi announcer, and a black guy, his chair malfunctioned, he got set on fire. Why? Who the hell knows? Just why not? Well, he did try to serve alcohol, and Laura was pregnant, and she didn't want to drink it, and he kind of insisted. I mean, she didn't drink it, so maybe that's it. You tried to kill the baby. Don't kill the baby. Killed the baby. And Laura ends up finding that Greg had gone missing, so what the hell is going on here? Like, he'd gone missing, but he promised his big finale. It turns out that Greg was killed. Who was Greg killed by? Harry. Okay, because Harry really likes Laura. One of two things. Either Harry wasn't her cousin, and he's just a crazy lover, and that was just a cover story she had because she just wanted to justify why she wasn't going to sleep with him. Or two, he was her cousin, and that's weirdly incestuous, and that's really, really fucking wrong. And Harry also ends up getting killed, because why the fuck wouldn't he get killed? This movie, he gets killed, but because Laura ended up getting possessed by Clara's ghost, now they walk out, ghost and body in hand, or in body, whatever, and they walk out, and that's it. That's pretty much it. Gets out in the sun and everything, Clara can experience the world, and Laura can have her kid, and maybe they can be ghost and mother raising children together. Again, it's not perfect, and yeah, the ending just kind of comes, okay, well, let's just throw an ending here, and people just start suddenly acting weird. You could say they got too immersed in their roles, especially the Andre guy, but it is what it is, or Andrej. And sure, if you get too wrapped up in your role, you might get a little bit nuts. And there are a few other pretty women that end up getting killed, because why the fuck wouldn't they? The movie is by no means something that's going to break new ground, but it is quite good as far as positives, as far as atmosphere, acting, writing, and stuff like that. And I look forward to seeing what this director, Roberto Cazzara, can do, in the future. Apparently he's directed some shorts, and sometimes all you need is a movie like this to get you started. I mean, hell, there was The Cleansing Hour that came out on Shudder a couple of years ago, and I fucking love that, and I look forward to what the director will be doing next. Maybe this can do the same. I like The Cleansing Hour more than this, but that's not knocking this movie at all. I'm going to give it a B+. It's good, atmospheric, and well done. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Wetland. I'll see you soon.